time for Dave 101.
You are a liar. You're a liar. You're a liar. You're a liar. This is what many experiencers hear around the UFO, paranormal, supernatural world on a daily basis. I've experienced it myself numerous times when I've explained my stories, when I'm being interviewed on podcasts, or when I've even shared my stories on this very show. Why? Because people don't want to believe. They always want to say, where's the proof? Where's your photographs? Where is your video? Well, let's see. If I brought that out to you, you wouldn't believe it anyways, because Photoshop, CGI, and many other editing versions that are out there that could really take away anything that you caught. No, there isn't a nice way to put this. It sucks being an experiencer right now. You are in a can't-win situation, sometimes even within your own crowd. Too many times over the last couple of years since we segregated UFOs to UAP and UAP with aliens, because we're not allowed to bring them in, we have seen a turning of the tides regarding the experiencer. First off, we have to explain what an experiencer is. It is someone who has had contact or some sort of visionary or mental capability of having interaction with everything from UFOs to cryptids like Sasquatch or ghosts or anything in between. It's not viewing from your patio a set of lights flying through the sky. No, that's just a sighting. The experiencer is someone who is affected daily by what has happened to them. They don't know why they were chosen. They don't know why they've woken up with headaches or nosebleeds or something worse. Sometimes something better. Downloads, which can be very intriguing. Here we go, though. The experiencer is the forgotten soul of ufology. And I have been saying that for the last couple of years until recently, as you've heard us talk on this show earlier this week with Science Bob and Nicole Sackage about the DIRDS report coming out of the Department of Intelligence, the DIA, in Washington, D.C., at the Pentagon, explaining how they have looked into cases regarding UFO contact with people and the side effects that some people have had with those encounters. So here's the ugly part of ufology that I do not like. There is a crowd of skeptics out there, along with the non-believers, who continually decide that they are going to call all experiencers liars, cheats, thieves, people who are looking for their 5, 10, 15, 17, 18 and a half minutes of fame, trying to make a buck off of what they've gone through. Maybe a Hollywood movie like Travis Walton, even though he wasn't paid in millions. And no matter what you do, no matter what you say, no matter how much you explain it until you're blue in the face, they don't believe you. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating for many people in this community because so many people have had experiences and they do not know where to turn to share and learn. They come to the UFO community because they want to feel and figure out what is happening to them. It really is an innocent yet impossible question to answer. Yet, if you go on Twitter, you will see multitudes of people, some may even say a plethora of people, who are absolutely insulting the experiencers and the government of the United States, which has allegedly looked into these cases. Look, making fun of anal probes or people getting pregnant and then showing no signs of a baby in their stomach, that is traumatic. It is nothing to be laughed at when certain experiencers are having the phenomena happen to them. I know people who I've interviewed on this show, Karina Sables to name one, who has not been able to hold down a job in 20 years after seeing a black triangle in Aldergrove, British Columbia in the 1990s. And to this day, it affects her. How do you claim to not work? How do you tell your government officials at the unemployment desk or maybe welfare or wherever it may be that I cannot work because aliens take me? And yet the only community that they can sit there and try and bond with to learn about maybe something that is happening to them shuns them because you're a liar. Too many times we are hearing this word liar as an excuse for proof or lack thereof. And like I said to Science Bob and Nicole the other night on the show, what is proof? Because one of the things that upsets people, whether it's looking into the government, looking into these situations, or the experiencers themselves, is everything is anecdotal. It's a story that comes from memory, and everybody knows our human memories are not 100% perfect, but they aren't 100% wrong either. Look, for those who have had horrific experiences, these nightmares are very real. The scarring is very real. The dreams of sorts, which we want to write it off to, of aliens taking you and injecting needles into your eyeballs or your skin or your feet or your genitals, is not very fun for those who've experienced it. Yet there is a crowd out there who, because there is no physical proof of a video, a photograph, or anything of the sort, medical records, they call you a liar. Now, there has to be a time when somebody stands up to that, because when you ask the question, what is proof? You get people saying, well, it's empirical evidence that needs to be found on the subject. We need to scientifically be able to conduct experimentation on these phenomena. Well, that's happening at Skinwalker Ranch in Utah. Well, we don't believe what's happening there. That's a scam, even though they've never been there. I've had people come up to me calling me a liar when I've been on other shows. And I remember one time when I was explaining my story with the alien in the forest and Samantha Mowat and I were there, I asked the person point blank. I stopped the interview where I had to look into the chat room and ask this person, were you there? Because I didn't see you there. Do you even know where Mission, British Columbia is, where this incident happened? They went silent until I started talking again, and then I was a liar once again. We're throwing around terms like liar and cheaters, snake oil salesman, like there's no tomorrow. It really shows what's happening in society these days, where just because you have a differing point of view, you can be called a racist, a Nazi, or any other kind of derogatory name calling like that, because it's easy these days. It's easy. And the people who are using those don't care who they offend. Well, for the experiencers out there, they are offended. We are offended. And we're tired of being ignored, especially when we are the scientific experimentations for the extraterrestrials themselves. There are literally hundreds of thousands of people every year who have something going on. Some of those people do not come back. We believe that they are taken by ETs and never seen on this planet again. Sure, that sounds like science fiction, but if you break down the FBI numbers in the United States alone, there are 65,000 people annually who are unaccountable. They have just vanished off of this planet. And yet we're liars. I don't know about you, but I try and tell the truth every chance I get. That's how I build credibility for Spaced Out Radio. I have interviewed hundreds of experiencers over the 7 years of this show, and only about 3 times during that time, I would say somebody wasn't telling the full truth, and the story sounded very made up. We do need our own discernment of what is right and what is wrong. We do need to be our own skeptics. We do need to question what has happened to us as experiencers. But what we don't need is somebody who wasn't there, who isn't around, who isn't even an experiencer telling us what happened to us. Do you think that we want this to happen? The majority of experiencers out there would love to have their happily boring life back, but they can't because the incidents were too traumatic, whether they were positive or negative, or they continue on to this day. And it hurts people to think that all they want to know is why them, and yet they're liars in their own community. So the question is, once again, what is proof? Everybody's proof is different. You listening out there, your proof is different than mine. This is sounding like a broken record because I've said this numerous times on this show. The idea behind it is, in a perfect world, we would have some sort of evidence to go along and corroborate the story. 99.9% of the time, we don't. The other problem that we have is too many people who've never experienced the phenomena themselves are giving their points of view on whether or not these experiences are real. Personally, I think they should shut their mouths. I think that they really need to take a step back and say, look, I may not believe what's happened to you, but if that's your story, what would you do if it did happen? How would you handle it? It's confusing for anybody to try and figure out that this phenomena is happening, more so to those who've experienced the phenomena. And trust me when I say this, if I had a choice to have the phenomena not happen to me, I would choose that 100% of the time, just like the majority of them out there. But you know what about experiencers? We keep looking for more. We want that extra sighting of Sasquatch. We want those paranormal sightings to happen. We want the aliens to come back because we want to confirm for ourselves that we are not crazy because our own community has already shunned us. So for those out there who are continually condemning the experiencers, let me tell you, your opinion doesn't matter. You've never experienced what we have. And just because, scientifically speaking, there is no evidence or proof that we've experienced what we have, does not mean it hasn't happened. You don't have to believe it. But the advice that I would give you from an experiencer is this. If you've never experienced anything, you have no right to explain to experiencers what's going on with them because they know more than you. And that is your Dave 101.